1, 2, 3. Well, hello everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh to our lecturers, the Sapuan, and to our friends that are watching this video. My name is Abdul Hakim, and we have here...
My name is Nur Dafika.
And we also have...
Hello, my name is Muhammad Nur Aiman.
And don't forget about...
Hello, my name is Ainun.
And finally, we have...
Hello, Assalamualaikum. My name is Abdul Azim bin Abdul Razak.
And we are going to present today about our case study about this company called Faida Bora. So, hope you enjoy our presentation. So, our presentation today is about ethics and integrity of the company called Faida Bora. We will study their mistakes and we'll try to recommend them what is needed to be done so that they will have good corporate governance. So this is our group members. We have Hakim, Ainul, Aiman, Afika and Azim. We will present in this order. Now, first of all, let us give you a brief introduction on what this case study is about. What Faida Bora did actually. See, Faida Bora is a company where it started as a family business, but then it grows into a limited company. They will have shareholders, they will have stakeholders, and they need to perform good corporate governance so that they will keep all of their interests together. But unfortunately, Faida Bora did not do that. What they did is they go against good corporate governance. So what did they did? They appoint their family to top management roles, which could be good, could be bad. It depends how they execute the idea. Second, involved in government projects. From the case study itself, we can see that some embezzlement might have happened between the government and Faida Bora Limited. And thirdly, they hiring incompetent employees. So let's go to the first question, which is about what are possible governance problems in this company. So, question 1. The basic problem is there's a lack of documentation. The director said it was unnecessary to record some expenditure. You see, in the case study, when the professional, the head of finance department asked the director, what should we do with these expenses? It's supposed to be specific, but it's not. The director said, no problem, you just absorb the loss. I leave it up to you, but make it a secret. This goes against the principle of accountability and integrity. See, when you're preparing accounts, you must have every little detail recorded, or else the final financial report you give to the stakeholders will be fake. You don't want to lie to your investors. That is bad corporate governance. That is the first problem. The second problem is the possibility of embezzlement. See, Faida Bora teams up with the government a lot, and they have won contracts by using operation expenses to gain the contract from the government. Now, the operation expenses line in accounting, in the financial statement, was not very specific on what did they spend on. So there is a possibility of black money, which is meaning it could be a bribe, because the accounting records were not complete. The directors told them to keep this so and so in the hopes that the investors won't find out. So they asked the accountants to absorb the expenses. So that is a lie. You cannot do that. Where is the integrity in all of that? That is problem number 2. Problem number 3. Governance problem number 3 is the lack of skilled professionals. Yes, the CEO himself has hired an accountant named Davis. He is proven to be incompetent because when the director asks what is 2 plus 2, 2 plus 2 is indeed 4. You cannot answer what would you like the answer to be, sir? No, it cannot be done like that. That's a bad conductor. That's a bad accountant. And bad accountants has bad code of ethics. So Davis is basically a yes man. We don't want that. We don't want to prepare a financial statement to lie to our investors. When we lie to our investors and they found out about it, it will ruin our own reputation, the company's own reputation. So next, I will give Miss Afika to explain about question 2. How can a professional deal with this problem? Afika?
Alright, thank you, Hakim. So, question 2, it said about how the professional deal with the three problems that mentioned by Hakim before. So, the professional in this case refer to the person that are being appointed by the member of the family to run the following department as stated in the case study. So, next slide. It's very important for any company to minimize as much risk as possible. The professional can deal with this problem by informing the top management to follow the standard of procedure regarding the documentation management skills. It is because the documentation serves to secure agreement and standard. It helps to explain the history of action taken and analyze the document without any problem. In the same manner, the professional need to set an example to create the procedure of the documentation needed in the company, such as making sure that all the documentation in the company is always kept up to date. It is to ensure that the company can keep on track about the transaction occur in the company. Keep in mind to make the documentation as a habit as soon the documents have been received. So, next point is possibility of embezzlement with the government are often involved with persons that suffer or feel underestimated in financial distress. The professional can actually establish the written policy to prevent conflict of interest happen in the company. They should be actively supervising all arrangement, payout, jobs, interaction with associate, as well as deny voting with regard of the relationship, such as payment service and technical service. All the transaction need to provide an evidence in order to keep the transaction well maintained and to avoid any corruption happen, such as the director can take the company's money into their personal account for their own benefits. Last but not least, the lack of professional skills need to be enhanced by establish the training program. This is to ensure that the right attitude of the accountant to have a better skill and knowledge in order to provide proper information for better decision making. This training also gives the awareness to the accountant to set the goals and increase the concentration while doing work. It actually one of the way to provide accountability, to give accuracy, completeness information, especially in providing proper financial information for the shareholder and stakeholder. So that's all from me. I will pass to next presenter, Aiman.
Okay, thank you, Afika. So, as my part, the company has been conducted a long time ago and has a very vast history on his family business, which is the Faida Bora Investment Ltd. Actually has operated a wide variety of business activities such as trading in commodities and also service delivery. So in this case study, there has a potential risk facing in the organization since they have a lot of involvement and improvement in terms of business operation. So the first potential risk is that, next slide, the compliance and legal risk. So the compliance risk and legal here is referring to the exposure to any legal penalties or financial forfeiture or material loss for the organization when it fails to act in accordance with the industry law or regulation. So as we know, the organization stated that they are not supported by documentation. So the company actually not take the serious matter in the terms of keeping and documenting the all the transaction businesses. So we can say that the company is actually not serious and it's not actually is not serious about to take care of the documentation and history transaction. Otherwise it will lead to the lack of transparency that need to be transparent, of course, and original about those black and white papers. So the second potential risk is about the competition risk. The competition risk is actually referring to the industry that needs to tackle in order to gain more profit and attention from the customer. So this is can be stated in the case study also. The Faida Bora Investment Ltd decided to start the trading with the government itself. So the other businesses might wants to compete with them, and so the competition risk is there, and to compete with the other businesses also in order to gain more profit and so on. And last but not least, about the reputation risk. So here the reputation risk is more to the it is regard to the unhappy from his chairman, board of director, BOC, and as has his accountant that are qualified but lack of skill. So the accountant Davis should portray his professionalism in doing his task as an accountant at the Faida Bora Investment Ltd. So it shows that the accountant need to have adequate training or program that put his ability furthermore in order to conduct his job. So be in mind that the quality of for exercising the professionalism trait is important in the company, so that we can avoid any lawsuit cases or product failure that can damage the company reputation risk. So that's all my part. We proceed to the I know.
Thank you, Aiman. So, for my part is how can professionals suggest to the board of director? So next slide. So first, what we have to know is what is actually board of directors. Board of directors is body of the member chosen to be represent the shareholders in the organization. So roles by the board of directors is responsible for there to maintain the interest of shareholders in developing corporate practice and managing the business or organization. So we look at the first point is conflict of interest. Based on the case study where we found out that the organization has a conflict of interest where the director withdraw a huge lump sum of money, right? So as the Malaysian legal framework, it could fall under the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, MACC, whereby it handles corruption to the related cases and leads to the National Anti-Corruption Initiative. So the corruption could happen in these cases where the director did not show an ethics as the rules of the board of directors. So other than that, the professional can look at the law, which Company Act 1965 under the section 132, which is the prohibition against the improper use of a company's property position, corporate opportunity or competing with the company. There is a Company Act 1965. If the director against the law, professional can give such a warning to the director under this act. Last but not least, professional can discuss within the organization. If anything could happen again in the future, professional can vote against the director to off their roles in the organization. There is a way not to happen again if the director did the same thing. So that's all my part. I will pass to Azim.
Thank you, Ainul, Farzana. So I will explain the last question for this case study, which explain and give the best suggestions for the company to run the business with the right ethical concept policy. So as we know, with this base study, it is clear that the tone from the top itself have the problem and that it first need to change. The right ethical concept policy that the organization can apply must be based on the two pillars of ethical leadership. First is a moral person and second is a moral manager. So the moral person is begin with the right trait such as integrity, honesty and competence, and having the right behavior and hold on value in making decision, so that it will be reflected to be a moral manager, which means that the manager must be a role model through the visible actions to the organization. these two pillars is very important to set the right tone from the top of the company. With the right tone from the top of the company, leaders can take the right initiative to instill ethical environments that can influence employees to take it seriously about the ethical issues. So to set the right tone at the top, the organization needs to draft a policy through a formal ethic program in a company. A formal ethic program that's structured to support the efforts of set the right tone from the top, institutionalize ethical leadership, and inculcate ethical culture. It also consists the guidelines and a formal sets for ethical behavior in the workplace. This policy must include the activities, practice, process, procedure, and which behavior is that unacceptable. And this ethical policy also will be the norm and culture in the workplace, and it will be institutionalized in the entire organization. And everyone needs to comply with the ethical policy. So to conclude this presentation, professionalism, high ethic value, and good governance is among the elements that drive the successful of organization, especially to facing the dynamism and challenging in the industrial revolution 4.0. In doing so, it must begin from the very top of the organization itself to set up the good example and ethical leadership to be followed by the employee of the organization. And lack of ethical leadership not only give negative impacts to the organization, however, to the community and the nation as the whole. So that's all from us. Thank you.